This video is rated T, or Tickle Me Pink. The human eye is one of the most complex parts of the body. We as humans have evolved over the years, and our eyes really do two things exceedingly well. We spot fast movement, and we also spot the silhouette of other humans exceedingly well. Why am I telling you that? Because today's video is about camouflage, and if you know what the human eye looks for, you're going to be much harder to spot in all the games you play. And yes, this may seem a little bit dorky, this may seem a little bit nerdy, but think about this for a second. If you are just 5% harder to see, and you're consistently getting the first shot on enemies, how much more often are you going to live? How much more money are you going to make in Tarkov? How much more fun are you going to have in Tarkov? And this is where camouflage comes into play. And I want to know, how many of you guys actually spotted the players that were camouflaged in the previous frames? We'll go ahead and put them on screen right now. So let's hop into this video. If this helps you at any point, make sure to smash the dislike button and tell me to kill myself in the comments down below. And if you guys make it to the end of the video, I'm gonna actually show you guys certain items that will give away your position consistently. A lot of the player base doesn't know about these items, and they're getting you killed in raids and you don't even know about it. You may even think you're getting killed by cheaters, but it's actually these items. So make it to the end of the video for that. Before we go any farther, I am giving out literally free food. If you guys live in the United States of America and you haven't tried Factor 75 before, I can get you hooked up this week with pre-made meals ready to go for you. Just go ahead and shoot me a message on Discord and I'll get you guys hooked up with that. But message me fast, as these boxes are going fast. Alright, so the obvious spot for camouflage to start would be the clothes. However, I know that most of you guys are going to get bored. You're not going to watch the entire video. And what you really need to know, first and foremost, is you need to be conscientious of you skylining. So remember at the start of the video when I said the human eye, it's super adapted to spot the silhouette of other humans, right? So if you see a ghillie suit, the reason a ghillie suit works so effectively is partially due to the camouflage on the ghillie suit itself. But the main thing they try to accomplish with a ghillie suit is to break up the silhouette of a human, because the human eye, it spots the silhouettes of other humans extremely well. Humans are one of the biggest dangers to each other outside of apex predators over the years. And the other reason that the human eye is so good at spotting silhouettes is obviously for mates. It may sound a little trivial, you know, we're all here on the internet, we all live with electricity and we're very civilized, but even a couple thousand years ago, this was not the case, and the human eye has not adapted to be a stay-at-home fucking full-time Tarkov player. So skylining is whenever your silhouette is in the sky to whoever you're looking at. This happens a lot of times when you're positioning correctly and you're up high. You always want the high ground when shooting down on people, so you can pick and choose when you get cover and you get a massive advantage. However, if you're consistently sitting up high and your whole silhouette is exposed, you may have been in a position recently where you're sniping on somewhere, you're on a roof and you expected no one to see you, or you may be on the former side where you just snapped and saw someone up high, and it's because you could easily make out the silhouette of someone in the game, right? Your eyes are naturally drawn to that even if they're not moving. And that not moving part is also very crucial. I told you earlier, the human eye, it spots fast moving all the time. Now think back in the past when you die to someone you don't even see on their screen. Likely what was going on is they weren't skylining. Maybe their silhouette was somewhat, covered because they had a bush behind them. And on top of it, they weren't moving. Effectively, to your eye, they were invisible. I know a lot of gamers like to pretend that, they're going to see anyone on their screen. One pixel pops up and they're going to spot them. But a lot of times we actually miss people that are hiding in plain sight, because it doesn't matter how much you play. That is what the eye has evolved to do. So obviously, try not to put yourself in skylining situations consistently unless you're putting shots on target. But the reason I bring up the topic of skylining first and foremost is that silhouette. In Tarkov players have adapted to spot backpacks. So backpacks get very large, they exceed your character, and you can spot them instantly. Think about the last time you saw someone with a giant couch on their bag. You spot that sucker instantly. So your backpack is going to give away your position a lot, just like how skylining does. And that's why I wanted to teach you guys this concept first. Be very wary of what backpack you're taking into what situation. This is going to be the most important part of camouflage, in Escape from Tarkov. And instead of going through every single backpack, I'm just gonna tell you guys the 3 backpacks that I really recommend. So backpacks actually have stats to them as well, like weight, turn speed, and movement speed modifiers. So I also like to be able to carry a lot of loot, have low turn speed, low movement speed impacts, and have a very small silhouette compared to how much loot I can carry. You guys might know that the Trooper backpack is considered the most meta backpack, and it's for a host of reasons. Most of you might know that it's the lightest backpack, weighing only 1 kilogram and having very low impact stats to your movement speed and turn speed, but also it has one of the smallest silhouettes when compared to any other backpack that has 7 rows in it. It is significantly smaller. Put it right next to an attack too, and it blends in so much better with the color alone and the silhouette. And then on top of it, you have much smaller modifiers. So whenever you want to run a meta backpack, a standard backpack with no different cells on the inside, I would strongly recommend you run the Trooper for this reason. After that, I like to recommend the Mechanism backpack. Now this backpack is great for 2 different reasons. The silhouette is very small in comparison to how much loot can actually be stuffed in this, but it's not great for hauling out PvP loot. So we'll touch base on that later, either run a Trooper or the next backpack I'm going to recommend for PvP loot. But the Mechanism backpack is also just pure black, so it goes great on maps like Interchange, on nighttime raids, in the reserve bunkers. It will conceal your silhouette, and as well as keep your camouflage actually dark. And we'll talk about camouflage and coloring later, but I feel like it's the least important part of this video. Up next is the PvP backpack that I like to run. Maybe you have like one objective, you're just going to go look just for the goons, and then you're going to leave. You're going to want to be able to carry some loot out, but you're going to want to have a small silhouette and move fast. That is where the takedown backpack comes in handy. Now it comes in a tan version. I would recommend you use the black version, but this is basically your standard PvP bag. Super light, super cheap. You're gonna be able to grab someone's armor, grab their weapon, grab their helmet or their rig or their ears, and then be able to go ahead and run straight out with a full kit inside of your bag. And if you're in a situation where you gun down the squad, it's very likely they have a bigger bag that you can go ahead and take out. But this is going to conceal your position and make it so much harder for you to be spotted. This is personally what I like to run on Woods a lot, because Woods is a map that's primarily based on sight, not so much sound. And almost every other map, you're going to hear someone's footsteps before you engage them. But on Woods, a lot of time, you'll actually see them first, and it's a very unique map in that regard. So that's where having a small silhouette becomes very advantageous. As much as I like the YouTube comment system, we can have a better conversation actually in Discord, in the text chats, or the voice chats. I'm always hanging out in there, and I love getting to meet you guys. So make sure you join that. Next, we're going to hop in game, go to Ragman here, and actually look at the tactical clothing. Now, I'm playing as a USEC here, but you could be playing as a bear. You don't have to copy me one for one, but I'm just going to show you guys some actual clothing that's going to give you in-game advantages. So first and foremost, you want to run something with like a dark olive color and with a lot of different coloration on it. For example, like the USEC Adaptive Combat shirt, whenever you're going to be going onto a map that's really wooded. Now, the issue here is you want to try and run clothing that doesn't have these sleeves. The skin does stand out a lot. The other thing is you always want to have a Momex on. Simply covering your arms and then also having a Momex on will make your character significantly harder to spot. If you're not consistently buying a Momex or something like that, a face covering already, that is going to go ahead and increase your survival rate quite a lot already. The sleeve thing isn't the end of the world by any means. You can still have exposed sleeves, but it's just one extra layer to look for. But this is great whenever you want to run something like Woods, you want to run on the outside of Shoreline. It will make you significantly harder to spot. Tarkov is basically just a giant mess of green, and I do miss snow a lot for that reason. But speaking of snow, whenever it does come back, I would recommend something like this. So when snow was around, I was running the USEC Urban Responder hoodie with the USEC Tier 2 pants right here, and it really blended in really nicely with both the snow, the rocks, and the shadows. It was broken up nicely, and it was just hard to spot. If you're going to a map that has a lot of dark areas, so for example, Interchange, maybe you're going on a night raid, a dusk raid, or you're going in the reserve bunker, maybe even factory, running something that is black is also very popular. This is what I personally like to run, but a lot of people do like to go ahead and run the USEC Cerium, or you can get whatever black version you want on the bears here. But this is personally what I like to run when going into a dark situation. Now, bringing the appropriate equipment with the appropriate clothes is going to make all the difference. Speaking of camouflage, you can also use like a full black setup to pretend you're a trash bag. If you guys have seen the Abney video, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's trash all over the streets of Tarkov, and people literally dress up and blend in with the trash, and it works insanely well. It has no reason working as well as it does. You can additionally go ahead and dress up like, for example, like a scav. My go-to scav right here is the jeans, because scavs dress very casual, and then I also go ahead and run the sweatshirt here. Now, if you're going to dress up as a scav, you need to take it to another level. You need to make sure your melee weapon, you don't have a red rebel on your legs, so don't spot it. You don't have an armband on. And that'll take us to the next section of this video of actually picking the right equipment for the map you're going to. So for example here, this is how I would actually dress if I wanted to go ahead and camouflage as a scav. So not only do we have the clothes to look like a scav, but we have convincing armor like a scav. This looks like we have a pack on or something like that. We have a convincing backpack. When do you ever see a PMC running like a quiet or a brawler mask? You don't, but that's also doing two things for us. It's convincing everyone that we're a scav, but also it's concealing our ComTech 4 headset. We go ahead and take our melee weapon off. We go ahead and take our armband off. The SA-58, well, you can just explain this. Like, no one's really going to get too close to you and actually look at your weapon, and scavs do spawn with loud and stubby SA-58s, right? So no one's going to pay you too much attention. And for example, you could take this exact loadout to something like Streets of Tarkov, or maybe Reserve when it gets really overwhelmed with player scavs, or Lighthouse, because generally on these maps where scavs are the biggest issue, you can run this. And you think this may not work, but the amount of times I go to street and just half-ass loot, kill players, and then player scavs come up to me, I just jump, no, dude, I'm a player scav, whack them, and I'm leaving with tons of labs access cards for free. It is crazy. It works exceedingly well. Camouflage will make you a ton of money, and you can utilize it in all sorts of different aspects. So this is like a great scav camouflage to go ahead and run on streets, go ahead and run on Lighthouse, or go ahead and run on Reserve. You can run it anywhere else, but those are really the predominant like scav maps where you'd want to do something like this. And if you want to go ahead and do your own flare, I'm not telling you have to use that exact setup. You can literally just come to fence. Anything that is in fence that's like sold from a scav's inventory when they leave a scav is something that, they spawned with, right? So you can run this sort of loadout to your desire, whatever you have access to, and just mix and match and just make the best of it. But you'll have a ton of success with this loadout. One thing I forgot to mention is we have armor that's super convincing that we're a scav, but we also have, level 6 plates as well as level 3 air mid while running this Thor. I mean, we're running a meta SA-58 when we have ComTech 4. It's like, this is a very deadly loadout, and it still convinces people that you're a scav. Here is a great example of something that I would run maybe on like Reserve bunkers. So we have a weapon. It is all black. It's not going to stick out. It's not tan. We have a black face covering. You could replace this with something like a U-lock, but if I'm going to Reserve, underground, I'm probably going to be taking shots to the face. So something more like a death mask and a helmet, or an actual face mask like this is going to give us, a big advantage. We have the full black clothing. We have the PvP black backpack on. It has almost no silhouette whatsoever because once again, we're going to, Reserve underground, and we're really only there for PvP. We're not there to loot a lot. You get the gist, right? We're actually building our loadout to blend into our environment and give us the most advantage we can possibly have here. Here we have a great example of maybe what we would run on a nighttime raid, or you could go ahead and take the quad nods off of this build, and this would be excellent for interchange once again. But we're very dark here. Let's say we have quests to do on a nighttime map. We want to go nighttime just to avoid some PvP, but we're still going to dress for success, right? This is what you'd want to run. Like, look how small that mechanism backpack is. The silhouette on it is tiny, yet we can loot a tremendous amount inside this mechanism backpack. Also, if you kill a juicer, you can go ahead and put the mechanism inside of something like a bigger backpack and take it on your way out. Then we have something like an MDR, a black weapon. It's super quiet, for example. There's no muzzle flash because we've suppressed it. We're obviously not running loud, and we would use something like M80 or M61 out of this because we wouldn't want to go ahead and run tracers out of this if we're going to a nighttime or a dark map, because that would completely defeat the point of our camouflage. You could go ahead and also put a Momex instead of a Death Shadow, but this is just how I would tend to dress. I'm trying to get you guys in that mindset. Here's an excellent example of like what I would run to something like Woods, for example. We've gone ahead and changed to Sage Under. You can go ahead and run something like a Redut if you want, or you can really do a lot more with the chest rig, the armor, but I just changed it because it wasn't a big deal here. Obviously, you're not going to want to run something like a tan U-lock on Woods. It's really going to give your position away. You also wouldn't really want to run like a big silhouette backpack or a tan backpack. It's going to give your position away. The weapon you can see is tan, but no one's going to spot you off your weapon, or it's going to be extremely unlikely that they do. So just keep that in mind. And I know there's like a whole meme in the Tarkov community about the tan U-lock being cursed, but the tan U-lock is effectively a very good helmet for very cheap. and you just got to utilize it at the right time. So for example, a good time to go ahead and use something like a tan U-lock is going to be reserve above ground, because you're going to get spotted in those situations regardless of the tan U-lock. Another good way to use it is somewhere like factory, for example, or lab. So if you have them laying around, or you're going to buy a helmet, you can save yourself a lot of money just using them in the right situations. Or if you're not going to go ahead and dress up like a scav, for example, on streets, there's not many other camouflage options. You can dress like trash and it can work if you haven't seen the Abney video. You can also just run a tan U-lock if you just want to run standard, no camouflage, and get a cheaper loadout. It's still super effective. So keep that in mind. There's a time and place for everything. And although we no longer have snow, here's a great example of what I was personally running when the snow was around, and it made me blend in with the snow significantly better. Now, you don't have to use these exact clothes, and these are just examples for you. For example, if you were watching my channel at the very start of the wipe, I recommend the first purchase anyone made was to go for these when the snow was around, and this really did make you significantly harder to spot. I actually told people to get the Ranger jeans, sorry, not the Tac Life Terrains. But you could get this at a very low level, and it would help you blend with the snow way more than everyone that was running around with like USEC standards or the bear clothes that were getting spotted instantly. So just get clever with what you have, you know, the things you can buy, and this will help you tremendously. Like the standard USEC clothes and the standard bear clothes, they just make you stand out like a sore thumb, and it's going to get you guys killed. So start thinking about the clothes and the equipment you're bringing into your raids. I said if you guys made it to the end of this video, then I would go ahead and show you guys all of these items they're getting you guys killed. And so most of these are glasses, and they have this issue, particularly in fog and dark situations, where they like reflect light, but the engine is just all messed up, and they're basically just showing as if they're getting hit by the sun all the time, and your eyes are glowing. So you might be in the dark or in fog, but people can still see you. So on screen right now are all of those items that you do not want to wear under any circumstances because of that issue. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys all on Discord or in the live stream. Peace out, guys.